Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4 New Order of America. Let us continue on from where we last left off. So the Civil Rights Act has been passed. Congratulations, America. You've done it. Peace conference. Who's at war right now that this would be a peace conference for? Right. Okay, so Germany has reestablished her control over Moscow. That is fine. And now the polls have updated. Let's take a look at how those are going. Prediction is now a +1 swing. Funnily enough, it's actually Democrats losing seats to Republicans, which is very, very, very funny. Actually, is it? Well, presumably, yes. Democrat is going to go for Republican. That's very... I'm actually kind of surprised by that. I did not know that the RDC would allow Republicans to run against Democrats, but I feel like that would like ruin party unity, right? Like if you're running against other members of your own party, whatever. I guess it's I guess they have primaries. Whatever. Who cares? It's very funny. Democrats are going to get weakened by the Republicans, which presumably is in part due to this modifier now, is because more people are going a little bit more Republican. So people who were Dixiecrats no longer want to be in the Democratic Party. They're going to go join the Republicans. That's at least what I'm imagining is kind of happening here. We're kind of having the party realignment of the 60s and 70s. Okay. So 32 political power. I want to align... Let's see. So Italy here, 13 days. We have better proposal than the Japanese, but Italy wants more than that. So there's a chance that Italy will not want to do anything. I do want to increase our own influence, obviously. We want to push this more into our direction. Lessons from Canada. The political scene in Canada is far more interesting than Jonathan Motzfeldt would have expected before coming in, for his studies. He suspected that few would have thought that a man studying technology, that's his theology, would take such an interest in political matters of the day, especially as a visitor from Greenland. In that regard, he was somewhat unique. Sometimes for better or worse, depending on who you ask. In between his theological studies, he spent a good amount of time learning what he could about the Quebecois and their struggle for independence. Every Canadian had an opinion on Quebec, and he learned the hard way that it could become contentious very quickly. All the same, he couldn't help but resonate with their goals, as he saw parallels with that in his own homeland. Quebec had been seen as an integral part of Canada, and while Greenland didn't have the same importance to the United States, they were effectively an unofficial territory. Was it possible that one day they would be their own nation despite this? No doubt the Quebecois wondering the same thing. And even though their situation was far more difficult, they were still trying. Inspired him enough to renew the fight. He knew that Greenland would never receive independence until the issue was forced. They just needed people to start demanding it. No one really filled the role now, but he knew supporters existed. Once he finished his studies here, he resolved to pursue this. He saw a future where Greenland was free of foreign control. If his experiences in Canada showed him anything, it was that it was going to be a long and difficult road, but nothing worth doing was ever easy. Okay. Foreign policy decisions. I don't want to, bomb Africa right now. Okay, they're at 0%, which is good. I would also like to do another peacekeeping operation in Angola, but unfortunately that's just not an option yet. Do you want to fund more jungle infrastructure? I don't think so. I want to organize a trade mission to Rome. So let's send the 50 political power on this bad boy. Push that a little bit more for us. RDC campaign has gone well. Let's go to... Well, who's even states there? There's 4 states. Let's campaign. See what they can get done. Lackluster campaign. And All the President Men blows the lid on the box office. Hollywood took on the political wildfire of Nixon's presidency this past weekend as the critically acclaimed film All the President's Men stormed theaters across the United States. Critics from the Chicago Sun-Times have regarded the movie as being a brilliant showcasing of the depth of investigating journalism, as paranoia, self-doubt, and harassment dominated the cases of the heroes of the Washington Post. The movie soared to reach to cement it on #1 spot on the box office as Americans rushed to see the political thriller. Director Alan J. Pakula provides the American audience with a journey across the spheres of journalism, writing, and politics, as the film looks into the journeys of renowned reporting duo Katharine Graham and David Halberstam, who, as they take the haunting shadows which appear over their every move. Together, the duo follows one step after another in their journey to unveil the secretive and dangerous conspiracy involving the White House administration, scaling all the way up to former President Richard Nixon himself, who, just 2 years ago, resigned from office as President of the United States of America. A critical success despite our failures. Not my failures. The NPP was of no failure there. It was entirely the Republicans there. Warlord insurrection in China. Upheaval has once again seized the Middle Kingdom today as Long Yun, a rehabilitated warlord in the province of Yunnan, has declared a national crusade against the traitors to the Chinese nation. Well, is there anything I can do to support them? Intelligence, China, Vladivostok, assist Chinese rebels. Sure, I don't know whether this will do anything, but let's try that one out. How many troops do you guys have? Because you're going to be fighting against Japan. 21 to 46. Even the illegitimate Chinese government has more troops than that. So chances are pretty low you'll get anything actually done. But, I mean, you're distracting the Japanese in some regard. So I'd have to imagine that is a boon for us in some way. America's won the issue. Following weeks of negotiations, hell yeah. I mean, they're pretty squarely in our triangle. Like, this is lovely. Pretty independent. Pretty pro-Japanese, or pretty pro-American. We have 4 points for the next round. Transoceanic tourism. Of course, we're going to go high investment on this. Not that I would give any shits really about American tourists going to Rome, really, but yearly deficit GP ratio is currently negative 3.7. Economy. GP is looking good. That GP ratio is going down. Is there anything I could do to cut expenditures even more so? War support stability goes up. Scientific, you know, let's even cut science spending even more so. We don't need it that high, to be honest. How are you guys doing in Indonesia? I mean, you're still holding on. You're still holding on. That's really all I could ask of you. How many brave American troops have died here? 4,005. Okay, that's actually, you know, pretty significant, but 2 to 500. Like, these are numbers we're happy to see. I can replace my losses. I don't think the Indonesians can, nor their Japanese allies. Journey of 1,000 miles. Robert Kennedy sat in the Oval Office. William Guy and James Rowley, Secret Service Director, across from him. So, everything's all set? Yes, Mr. President, replied Rowley. All your bags and necessary items are aboard Air Force One, and everything is secured for your smooth runnings here while you're out on campaign. Excellent, said Robert Kennedy, setting up from the Resolute desk. Now, it's just a decision of where to start. Wait, said Guy. I thought we agreed upon Boston for a first destination, to show up our support in a stronghold of ours. What's changed? Kennedy scratched his chin. Well, you see, I'm not sure that's the best course of action right now. I think we need to focus more on party unity by traveling to the more conservative strongholds. Our supporters in Maine in Boston aren't going anywhere. I was thinking Maine. Guy sighed. It's your call, Bobby, but everything's already set in Boston. You're the boss, but I still think you're the best choice. Kennedy looked at the window over the White House lawn. It was a terrifically beautiful day. One good for flying, he supposed. Let's go more liberal. Let's go to Maine. Let's see if we can maybe shore up a little bit more support with the conservatives. Fight against poverty. Fight for schools. Seen as more liberal. Robert F. Kennedy will gain supporters from his union and his more radical support base. Campaign where we haven't. For liberal on domestic issues. Fight against poverty. So we've already done this once. Okay. And to be seen as more liberal. I might need you to be seen like a slightly more conservative, but nothing like too crazy yet. Also, what do we need to do for you? Because I noticed that you were now blocked off. Oh, he's touring a nation. Okay, so we can't do that quite yet. So let's do Injustice Anywhere as a threat to Justice Everywhere. So if he's touring a nation, like, try not to die. I don't know if you're going to get assassinated, but, I mean, it is a possibility, right? The Portland speech. Portland, Maine was a funny little town. Barely 65,000 people lived here, but it was still the largest town in the state by quite a margin. The motorcade drive from the airport had been rather short, only riding for a few miles to the Port Allen Park, where President Robert Kennedy stood, poised to give a speech. Ladies and gentlemen, people of Maine, before I begin, I would just like to say how thankful I am to have received such a warm reception into your city. I would say that the two largest wings of the National Progressive PAC have been reasonably amiable towards each other for as long as they've existed. However, now some party leaders say the time for debate is over, and I'm inclined to agree. Now it is time to unite. Unite with the progressives, unite with the Republicans, with the Democrats, unite with our cousins in the North, and to those across the sea. I will not lie to you, America has many enemies, at home and abroad. There are still those who would come to see there's still those that would see some back in chains on account of the color of their skin. There are some who would see our nation reduced to ashes on account of our freedom-loving ways. I say this should not come to pass. We are a freedom-loving people, and we will keep our brothers free. Bobby stepped off the stage, a mediocre round of applause going behind him. Not exactly my best work, he said, turning towards William Guy, but it was a half improvised anyway. What do you say? The crowd was as quiet as that? Okay, where to next? Detroit or Chicago? Let's go to Chicago, baby. Go to Chicago. So the people in Maine were not enthused. At a glance, Chicago looked just like any other large city in America, but President Kennedy represented much more. The progressive held a strong hold over the urban population, and it had ensured that it would remain that way. The motorcade had taken a scenic route through the whole south side, from the airport through Chinatown, and then south to the front steps of the Museum of Science and Industry, where Kennedy now stood before thousands of people. People of Chicago, I think it's appropriate that I now stand in front of the Museum of Industry and Science while giving a speech in one of the most industrious cities of this great nation. Time and time again, this great city and its residents have proven themselves to be a beacon of enterprising, welcoming, and hardworking Americans. Chicago, in short, is the embodiment of the American dream. Growing up in New England, from time to time, you'd hear the term Yankee ingenuity get thrown around. It basically refers to the American indomitable spirit of hard work and get stuff done determination that has allowed us to become the great and prosperous as we currently are. Then here in Chicago, all I see is Yankee ingenuity. However, there is a poison to all that hard work. Some would see workers given nothing. Would we see workers given nothing if it meant their own pockets might be a little deeper? Workers of all kinds deserve rights. They deserve the right to unionize. They deserve the right to demand better wages. The progressives have always fought for such things, and we will continue to fight until the plight of the blue-collar man is rectified. Kenny stepped back from the podium and stood next to William Guy. The crowd was going up in applause behind him. Well, that's Chicago taken care of. Anywhere else we want to hit? Anything else before we hit the road again? Okay. Denver or Yellowstone? So Denver, Colorado, or Yellowstone National Park, which I think is up here somewhere. Rocky Mountain High or City. You know what? Let's go to Yellowstone. Operation success in China. Excellent. Foreign policy. Let's give you some more support. Anywhere else you care about? Let's stabilize Iberia for $15 million. Oh, we're not researching anything. Okay, miniature compass. Get that one going next. Also, did Transoceanic tourism, did that happen? I'm not even too sure. A city united. Yellowstone was an interesting and unusual place to hold a speech. Initially, President Bobby Kennedy had been a bit skeptical of traveling to a remote, albeit famous national park for one of his speeches across America. Now, however, with reporters from dozens of major news networks standing before him, notepads in hand, he knew that he had been wrong. This would not be a speech for Wyoming, nor Montana, nor Idaho, or any other state. This would be a patriotic rallying cry for all of America, reminding us where we all came from and what we all call home. Today, I find myself not speaking to the common people of the United States, but rather the messengers for whom they listen. That does not matter. I stand here in one of the most peaceful, beautiful places our great nation has to offer to say that no matter how divided we may seem, we are still an indivisible nation, connected through soulful bonds that will never be torn apart. Every year, millions of people visit this place, and as such, it remains. And forever shall remain one of the great bonds that tie our union together. We are a nation of one people, one heritage. Regardless of race or color or creed, we are not simply Americans, we are America itself. Standing in such a place as this, we may be reminded of the words of our forebearer, John Winthrop, who is shipmates aboard the WWII, as they travel to the New World, for a new life. We must always remember, he said, that we shall be a city upon a hill, the eyes of all people upon us. Today, as all people, the eyes of all people around the world are upon us, anxiously studying the American experiment. Be it through our politics or our culture or our faiths, in all levels of government, we must be constructed of men and women of resolute strength, aware of the trust placed in them by God and the freedom-loving peoples of the world. Our endeavors, as with the men of WWII's endeavors, will not be judged upon the basis of the color of their skin, nor the nature of their God, nor the ideology in which we owe allegiance. Rather, we will be judged by the world be built for the future generations, be it terrible or righteous. An hour or so later, once the reporters have asked their questions and a few tourists and had shaken the president's hand, Bobby Kennedy returned to the Lincoln Continental, where he had been driven to Yellowstone Inn. He turned to William Guy, who sat beside him. That took a bit longer than I expected. I've decided we're going to Washington next, Seattle specifically. The first place, replied Guy. You've been winging most of these speeches so far. What are you going to talk about? Okay. The NPP gets further divided. Urban voters become more liberal. Rural voters get more conservative. Or urban voters just become more liberal. Yeah, let's discuss poverty for now. I don't want to divide the NPP at this exact moment in time. You're at 48%, 83, 66. I will say it's kind of difficult to get more support for our party, unfortunately. No one's, like, extremely happy. But that's okay. People can be mad. People can be mad. So, Italy. When can I do the transoceanic tourism? I have no points. I don't know if that'll rectify at some point or what's going on there. At dinner in Seattle. You know, let's recruit another agent as well. Excellent. And then for you, weekly's going up, weekly's going up, weekly's going up. We love to see it. The restaurant Phyllis had a fancy aura than the name would suggest. Of course, half of the place had been reserved ahead of time for the president and his entourage, the Secret Service, and politicians. President Robert Kennedy himself sat in a cozy little corner table with William Guy, eating a steak after a long day of pleasantries and speeches. Well, all things considered, said Robert Kennedy, cutting a piece of filet mignon, I'd say that things went pretty well. I'm not sure how poorly it could have gone in the first place, considering how well we pull here, but every single talking point has hit the nail on the head. The people out here have loved every minute of the speech. Sure, replied Guy. I think we all said out there should help us a bit here in Washington, at least prevent us from losing a state in the whole. So what's next as we finish our nice little dinner? California or Oregon? California ports. Oh yeah, California. We need to talk about Japan. So let's get that going. We need more trains, really? Are we not building any trains? If that's the case, which I mean actually looks like we're not. So sure, let's get some train production. There we go, steam locomotive. We'll go 5 on that, seems okay. Is there anything we can cut down on? Priority. No. So we 68 for reinforcement. We'll cut like you down in half, you down in half. Should be good. That means we'll at least start producing some trains, which we do need to do. Because apparently we're actually almost at our logistical fulfillment, which is crazy to me. I thought we had way more trains than that. Okay, I mean, those are the NPAs looking pretty good. Argentina has had a revolution. So the government was brought to an end yesterday by slow and ultimate successful military coup. I mean, that sounds bad. I'm not going to deny that one. Okay, here we go. So Japan has given this level... Wait, no. Japan is giving this... -1. I mean, is that really good? What? Why? How's it -1? They want it on level 2. Spread rumors of Japanese, yeah, let's just put more points here. The California ports. When you were standing up on the stage and just outright called the Japanese ports a criminal illegal occupation of American soil, I just about thought the world stood still for a moment. Bobby Kennedy smiled at his vice president, William Guy, from across their dinner table. I still can't believe any politician would say something like that, huh? I'm hardly the first to spit on the Kagi Accords. Well, it just so happens, few and far between is all. Saying that you got a lot of support, anyhow. I'm not sure I've ever seen a crowd erupt like that. They loved you, Bobby. Kennedy took another slice of his steak, eating while talking. Yeah, well, he said, I guess it just means our little venture here was a success. We're heading to Texas. Okay, so we're going to be more liberal on domestic policy, economic policy, and civil rights. And again, how are these looking down here? Straddling the balance. Seems okay. Okay, so you'll be finished in... I feel like this has been going on for a million years, but I guess we had so many event pop-ups regarding this tour. Okay. The Yellow Rose of Texas. Which city in Texas to visit gave Robert F. Kennedy's advisors quite the argument. Some said Houston for its great population. Some called for San Antonio for a trip to the Alamo. Some called for Austin for its place in the state capital. Bobby himself eventually had to intervene, deciding to visit Austin. On the steps of the Texas Capitol, thousands of people of all races looked on. Perhaps, besides Kennedy, stood Lyndon B. Johnson, the famous Texan politician and former opponent of RFK's presidential run. People of Austin, Before I begin, I want to thank all of you for the warm welcome I have received, not only from your city, but also your leaders. I, of course, speak of the man beside me, Lyndon Johnson, one whom I greatly respect. In divided times, such as we may find ourselves in presently, it is easy to not only see the name of the party, and not the name of the man who follows it. It is easy to miss someone as other because of the party line. However, I say as a man that is loyal to his own convictions, and as such, I should not be judged upon the party for which he sides. I see the actions and policies of your Congressman, Lyndon Johnson, and I am moved and inspired by them. He has fought for the torch of civil rights as much as any progressive, so why should I not call him friend? The actions of Lyndon Johnson reflect the whole of the state of Texas, and they will not go unnoticed, nor underappreciated. The only way where we can truly achieve equality in this nation is through the spirit of unity that ties all Americans together. Only through unity may we achieve equality. So together, I believe that the Republican Democrats and the progressives may yet carry the torch of civil rights, not individually, but together. Bobby continued to give short speeches intermittently with Lyndon Johnson, as well as the governor of Texas, John Connally, for more than an hour. When the whole affair had finished and all attendees had shaken hands for unity and some such, Robert's throat was dry and sore, and his hand ached from the crushing grip of LBJ. He got back into the jet Continental with Vice President William Guy. Next stop, Alabama. Wallace is going to give you shit. That's a given, said Guy. We could rub it in his face. Spread the gospel of civil rights. Leadership approval of the Nationals will decrease by 5%. Nativists will go more conservative. Rural voters will go more Republican. Urban will go with more Democrats. Or we just like don't talk about Wallace. Thing is, like, the nativists are not going to support us. So you know what? Made the governor uncomfortable. Well, just a little bit, just a little bit of polite ribbing for Governor Wallace there. Because he's not the leader of the nationalist, right? It's another dude. Yeah, James Fulbright. We have 36 days on this. Now, I don't know if there's a way for Italy to leave our faction here. Like, Japan has basically given up. They're at -1, which is either really good or really bad. Bobby Kennedy lay reclined on his bed in what must have been the most expensive and lavish hotel rooms that he'd ever seen. It had everything. A full bathroom, bigger than some inner-city apartments. A king-size feather bed, a radio, a mini fridge, even a TV. Unfortunately, the TV only had a few channels, so Bobby chose the news as a background noise while he read about the latest developments in Europe. Regardless, after a long day of giving fiery speeches in Montgomery, Alabama, it was nice to relax for a few minutes. It was quite the miracle that he had a television turn up all the way as he heard his name said. Intrigued, Bobby increased the volume. Governor Wallace claimed Robert F. Kennedy came to Alabama this week only to slander him and the entire state of Alabama. Wallace said that he had served the state of Alabama faithfully for many years and would not let a Yankee upstart with no political expertise tell him or his constituents how to live or run themselves. He also said that Kennedy is trying to break the unity of the NPP and the state of Alabama. Bobby turned off the TV, his lips curled into a frown. He expected and hoped for an outcome like this. This was just the opportunity to kick Wallace down a couple of notches. If Wallace wanted to play ball, he would soon learn a simple truth. He's now a catcher in a house of glass. But I will say with that, it's going to be a good time for us to end off this episode. If you've enjoyed, remember thumbs up. Not enjoyed, click thumbs down. If you want to see more, subscribe, and goodbye.